Welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. Number 9.
And this is The Fool.
This is where me and The Fool give our
Unqualified and unrequested
ramblings on the various issues in the world of sport.
or something like that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. We are once again discussing our bread and butter, football, Premier League, maybe some other leagues. We'll see. Today, the 7th of March, we're not going to talk about any games that may or may not have been played earlier this week. We're instead going to focus on how Manchester United became the first team in the season to win a trophy. Yay!
Yay! Yay! That happened. Well done. Well done, Manchester United.
Erik ten Hag becomes the first manager to win a trophy in their debut season since Louis van Gaal, I believe, won the FA Cup.
Oh wow, yeah.
In 2014, I want to say.
Something like that.
Yeah, and he's had a really good season so far, but yeah. And they managed to knock Barcelona out of the Europa League and move to the second round in the playoff for the second round places, because the Europa League is weird and I don't know how it really works, to be honest. And then because I thought that was the second round, apparently it's not. It's a prelim to the second round. Okay. Europa, you do your thing. You do you.
Yeah.
And I guess that's because we get relegations from the Champions League into Europa League at this point of the season, right? So
yeah,
I guess that's what happened. And then they get drawn Betis in the next round. They beat West Ham 3-0 in the FA Cup. So maybe another potentially 3 cups this season.
Ooh,
I did think initially the quadruple was on. The Ladbrokes had it at 2,500 to 1. I think those odds have significantly increased since they lost to Liverpool 7-0 yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna write off that performance as a United fan. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, shit happens. Hopefully they'll be motivated with the embarrassment, and the coach will get the best out of them for the rest of the season. I do think the club are guaranteed almost to get a top 4 spot. Like, they have a game in hand over Tottenham Hotspur and 4 points ahead. There is
7 points to Liverpool, so no games in hand on them. So, but that would drop out the top 4. So, yeah, it seems unlikely. But I mean, it's still 13 games to go. So for
13 games to go. But I feel like Manchester United have faced pretty much all the big teams. They faced Arsenal twice. They faced twice. They faced Liverpool twice. And I feel like they've also faced Spurs twice.
Still going to play Newcastle.
Yes.
You're still going to play us. We count. No, you haven't played Spurs twice. Still got Spurs left.
Got Spurs left. We've got Chelsea, obviously, but that's at home. So that's Spurs away, which is obviously a tough fixture. Newcastle away. Tough fixture. They've got a bunch of other games against teams that are in the relegation battle, so they're not necessarily easy. But there's no real easy games in the Premier League. Those are games where you can drop points, but
you do have to play Brentford and Fulham, but at home as well. So,
United have the backup plan. If they were to fall out of the top 4, there's still the Europa League in hand to try and push their way out to gain the Champions League spot. They're in the Europa League next season anyway, so at this point they need to finish top 4. The difference between 5th, 6th, and 7th is meaningless to them now.
Yeah, exactly. That's down below 7th is that's 10 points lost over the last 18 games. That seems unlikely. Yeah,
I think I feel like right now Liverpool look likely to make it to the top 4. They're only 3 points behind Spurs, and they've got momentum. Spurs just don't
got momentum
for a goal. Liverpool could finish 4th, which would be interesting if Spurs were to win the Champions League. Spurs or Chelsea. If Chelsea win the Champions League, We get, let's say, for example, Arsenal, City, United, and Liverpool in the top 4, and we have, or maybe just say, for argument's sake, Arsenal, City, Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool in the top 4, and we have United win the Europa League. Then what happens? Does that mean like Spurs or Liverpool drop out? Because you can only have 5 in one country.
Yeah.
This model doesn't take effect until not next season, but the season after. The 23-24, not the 23-24, but the 24-25 season, I believe.
All right.
I could be wrong about that, but that would basically throw things in an interesting direction.
I'm pretty sure, it's the 4th team. So if you had 2 qualify through cup wins outside of the top 4, then your 4th place team would drop out.
Yeah. So that would mean Liverpool or Spurs, whoever finished 4th, would drop out in that scenario.
In that scenario,
Europa League, obviously, we've got West Ham. I think the Europa League is also hard capped, that they can only have. There's the total number of teams from one country, I believe, is 8. That's assuming you've got 2 European continental trophies coming from the same country, and they didn't qualify in the directly from the league. So there is a decent chance West Ham could win the Conference League and qualify for a Europa spot, which would mean if the FA Cup is won by a team that's not in this thing either, then whoever finishes 4th will be the only team to get into the Europa League from league position.
Wow,
if you know.
Yeah.
Because Manchester United have won the... oh no, there'd be one more. There'd be the 4th and 5th place, because Manchester United won the League Cup, and if they win the Europa League, then they are in the Champions League.
So yes, so 4th and 5th.
You'd have 2 teams. You'd have only 2 teams in the Europa League, which would be probably whichever Tottenham Hotspur or Liverpool in our scenario that finished 4th, and whoever finishes 5th is probably Manchester United. So whoever's the 6th place team, probably Newcastle, would finish in the Europa.
That's looking likely at the moment.
But we have to say that while we have discounted Newcastle a little bit, they are only 4 points behind Spurs, and they do have they have 2 games in hand.
2 games in hand, yeah. It's just their current form sort of dropped off a cliff. So
now, depending on how they recover from the disappointment of the League Cup final, they have a bunch of fixtures that they can win. They've got a game against Wolverhampton. They've got a game against Nottingham Forest. Though those 2 teams are on the up, as you mentioned, have a game against Manchester United. West Ham, Brentford, Villa are the only mid-table side. I think Newcastle have Spurs. That's possibly going to be the decider for the 4th place.
I would think so, and that is up in Newcastle, so that could give them a benefit there.
Everton, and they've also facing Arsenal, though in theory, by the time they face Arsenal, maybe Arsenal are already champions.
But Newcastle still may need those points.
Yep.
So that may be, and it is at Newcastle as well. So once again, maybe Arsenal don't need them, and it's like party time for Arsenal, and Newcastle need them. So that might be differentiated there. But also potentially Arsenal still needing a win to secure things. So because that would be 4 games to the end. So that's a little bit of space, and I don't think Arsenal will quite have it sewn up by then.
Yeah, so with the May fixtures, they've got Southampton, who may already be relegated at that point.
Yeah.
They have Leeds, who might also already be relegated at that point. Leicester may have already secured their Premiership status. And Chelsea, who should have secured their Premiership status. So Newcastle...
Thanks.
You guys are in the relegation fight. I don't know why you're laughing.
We're not. We're still out of it. It's still good. That's good 10 points out of the relegation fight.
Maybe not by table position, but by form, yes.
By form, that's a different question. But we've got a good 12 points to lose before we're really getting in there. Come on, we're still fine.
You guys have
we're
not
still good.
hit the magic 40-point mark yet. That's
no,
all
not quite. We're close.
once you guys hit the magic 40-point mark, then maybe sure, we'll
Okay,
consider
fine.
you guys safe. But yeah, Arsenal are in pole position at the moment for the
Yes.
league. They have a commanding 5-point lead in the table. Of course, they have a game against Manchester City, and if they win that game, it'll go down to 2 points. So it's still close. It's
Mm.
definitely not over. Um, Manchester United also have a game in hand. They'll go 51. I don't see Manchester United having much more to say in this in the in terms of like winning the league.
No.
Uh, they're still in the UEFA Europa League. They're still and they're playing Sporting CP. Um,
Yeah.
over 2 legs. They've got a game against Fulham and Crystal Palace this month, so relatively laid back month. And then they've got a bunch
Mm.
of busy fixtures in
It is
April. Like,
Fulham at Fulham though, and Fulham's been playing pretty well. So
yeah, they've got Leeds who are struggling with relegation. They've got
yeah,
Liverpool who are fighting to get to the top four.
and definitely on a resurgence there. So yeah.
West Ham who are fighting relegation, Southampton who are fighting relegation,
Yeah.
Manchester City who are fighting
But
them for
yeah,
the
that's
championship,
obviously
and
the key fixture for this right, for the championship. So
then they play Chelsea who will
mm.
not want to lose to them because it's Arsenal versus Chelsea.
Yeah.
Um, So that one's at the Emirates. And then they've got Newcastle once again, who might be fighting for a top 4 spot. Brighton and Hove Albion, who might be fighting for a European spot at that
Mm-hmm.
point. Nottingham
Well,
Forest,
yeah.
who should have cemented Premiership status by then.
Yeah.
And Wolves, who should have cemented Premiership status by then.
Yeah.
Arsenal have a tough run of games. And once again, like, they're an injury to someone like Thomas Partey or Bukayo Saka away from this
Yeah.
all fall apart. So that's just my worry for Arsenal. They will obviously they're in pole position, rightfully I think,
Yes.
considered favorites by a lot of people, but the bookies still don't have them at favorites.
No, I would. To be fair, I would still put them as favourites. I said that it is shaky, but yeah, the key ones there are the Liverpool at Anfield and City away as well. Like those are two big matches Arsenal's got to go on the road for, and got to take the points from. If they can do that, then yeah, that almost secures it for them. But yeah, we'll see how they go. Those would be the fixtures I'd be most interested in, and the Chelsea one obviously, but only so we can get our points and look good again.
The Manchester City's fixtures and this month are a lot easier. They've got the second leg against RB Leipzig. They've got Crystal Palace away, Burnley for the FA Cup. So only one Premier League fixture this month. They play Liverpool. Once again, that could be a tough game, but that's at home at the Etihad, so their fans will be up for it. Play Southampton away, who might even be relegated, to be fair. That's how bad Southampton are this season.
Hey, Southampton won. They're now above Bournemouth on the table.
Yeah. City against they're playing Leicester City. They're playing Brighton and Hove Albion. They're playing Arsenal. Obviously, that's a key fixture. And their month at the end, they've got Fulham, Leeds, Everton, Chelsea, and Brentford.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but I think easier than Arsenal's run in my opinion.
It is slightly easier than Arsenal's, but you say not particularly easy. Like they do have Fulham and Brentford and Brighton in that, all away. Like they go to Brighton, they go to Fulham, they go to Brentford. So those will be three pretty tough fixtures because those three teams are playing pretty well, really, the whole season, especially at home. Like they're just looking very solid. You'd expect City to win that, but those could be drawn games, those could be stolen games, well, quote unquote stolen, given how well those three teams are actually playing. So yeah, it could be interesting. Once again, say they've got the game against Arsenal, it is looking more and more like that is going to be the main key fixture. They've got but that's at the Etihad. They've got to host Liverpool as well. not particularly easy with current, especially at the moment. Like depends. That is a month away, so at the moment Liverpool's form is pretty unstoppable. But Liverpool's form this season hasn't been the most consistent. So we'll see how they are in a month.
They looked incredible in one game and then look terrible in another. So we'll see how they go in their next game.
Yeah.
Looking at the table, it's very, very close because there's a big fight for that top 4 in that fourth and third place spot. There's probably, you could probably say Brentford and above. Everyone's kind of in it for for a spot in Europe.
Chelsea and above, but Brentford and above, yes.
Because Chelsea have a game in hand over the Spurs at 45 points, but they're a good.
We're 11 points back, yeah.
Spurs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for Champions League spots, I think qualifying through fourth, the top 4 is probably beyond us. It's qualifying through winning the Champions League. Is the more realistic path.
Brighton, in theory, have 3 games on Spurs. If they win 3 games, they're in the top 4.
Yeah, exactly.
So, definitely, ditto with, obviously, Newcastle. They're back in the top 4 if they win their 2 games in hand.
No, Brentford's not quite. Brentford would be 1 point out of the top 4 if they win their 2 games, and nobody else changes.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting table where I feel like the drops are gonna start happening now. We look at the bottom, and we predicted AFC Bournemouth would go down. Did we not? And
we did, and
Southampton. And we said Leeds.
Yes. Who are just keeping outside of that, but
with the game in hand.
With the game in hand and the goal difference over Everton, but yeah.
But Everton have Sean Dyche.
Yeah. And I think last time we looked, we were pretty confident Everton had the better run-in than Leeds.
Yeah. I feel like Leeds the run-in's going to be too much. I'm not confident about them at all. They've lost to Chelsea, lost to Fulham, beaten Southampton, obviously, then lost to Everton, lost to Manchester United. They've not had the results. The next group of fixtures, they're playing Brighton, they're playing Wolves. I feel like Wolves are gonna beat them. I feel like Brighton's gonna beat them. I feel like Arsenal's gonna beat them.
Arsenal's gonna trash them. Like, really. It's at the
Or you and I agreed Leeds going down?
Yeah, I mean, you look at their fixtures and you just don't see, you look at all the way to the end of the season, you're like, where are you picking up your points from here on in, Leeds? There's so little places to pick up their points that, at least with Everton, you can see them picking some points.
As we predicted, Wolves and I predicted Nottingham Forest and Leicester City are out of the relegation zone, and I feel like West Ham will get out of the relegation zone as well.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna regret saying that Southampton is gonna be relegated, aren't I? I feel like they're gonna stay up. That squad is just gonna do enough in the end. Ward-Prowse is just gonna get them over, aren't they? And I'm gonna be like,
possible, but that's still a mountain they've got to climb. It's still, and they don't have the best
United
of runners.
And Brentford and Tottenham Hotspur, and of course City to play. So maybe not.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
and
not
Arsenal.
The prettiest pictures. Yeah, and Liverpool on the final day, just to not make it particularly easy for them.
Yeah. It'll be interesting if Southampton don't get relegated if they beat all that top 6 opposition. Because that'll play havoc on the table.
I mean, they might get away with it with beating West Ham, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest. That's 12 points there of people that they can beat. Because Crystal Palace is at home at Southampton. Bournemouth is at home at Southampton. The other two are away, but it's Nottingham Forest and West Ham. Like, that's relegation battles there. So they do have Brentford at home as well. So that's in a couple of weeks' time. So maybe that's then 15 points.
If you're on 26 games and you haven't got 30 points, you should be worried.
Yeah.
Relegation is still a possibility.
Yeah. I was just looking at those games, like, they probably need the wins from all that. That would give them, 15 points. So that's 36 points at the end of the season. So, tight. But
yeah, I mean,
maybe.
I feel like 38 points might be enough to survive relegation season. Maybe even 35.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, those ones Southampton beating does mean West Ham's not got some points, Nottingham's not got some points. Like, there's teams in the battle that even Crystal Palace is not really, like, they're only 5 points off relegation, off 18th Crystal Palace, so technically in the relegation battle as well. So those games, those 5 games, they've got, Southampton have got 5 games against lower-end teams, plus Brentford and at home. So I counted the Brentford one because it's at Southampton, so maybe they might be able to sneak a win there. So, those are meaning all those other teams aren't going up, so maybe those are the games maybe works for them, but like, I don't... I included Brighton, I think, in my list, so I can't remember.
This team is, if they get relegated, this team is gonna be absolutely raided for players, because there's so many players on this team. I feel like Southampton, like Everton, a lot of those players I feel like have lost their reputations, but I feel like someone like Ward-Prowse, if
he'll be snapped up.
Relegated, he'll be snapped up.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
Yeah, and Shea Adams even, and so like a bunch of good players in this team. So, we'll see how it plays out in the end. But the Southampton getting kicked out by Grimsby from the FA Cup might help them out in the long run.
Yeah, definitely seems to have lit a little bit of a spark underneath them to get their acting together, just a little bit. See how it fans out.
Yeah. So, now, moving on from the English Premier League, we're just going to do a quick look around Europe in the top 4 leagues. Starting with La Liga, starting with our favorite, Serie A, traditionally the most interesting league, but this season, it's run away. Napoli, 15 points ahead at 25 games played.
Wow.
They've been so good this season, like, incredible.
That is amazing. I look at them, that's just amazing. They are just crushing it.
Yeah.
58 goals scored as well, like...
Yeah.
That's.
Osimhen is, like, on the radar of every big club. I mean, he's probably going to leave Napoli next season to go to another, to one of the top, to a Premier League or maybe to a La Liga club. But yeah, he's equaled Ronaldo's record for most number of goals, I think, in the season. So it's already he's already had an incredible impact.
19 goals, yeah.
And there's heaps of games left to play.
Yeah.
So this is going to be. It's going to be a incredible outcome, I think, because Napoli have been knocking on the door for so long. As it turns out, Juve were cheating, and the seasons where Juve were crap, AC Milan and Inter Milan were both so good. But now, finally, I think Napoli, they're gonna Serie A gets a new they're still Italy's most entertaining league. I think you get both the quality of play, like tactics and players, and you get differences. Like there's enough parity that it's fun to watch. So yeah, I think this Napoli team is still in the Champions League as well, so I think they could be a force. They're going to play Eintracht Frankfurt. If they can get through those fixtures, they
Yeah.
are a good bet in the quarters.
Yeah.
I don't think they should fear any team. If they've
No,
got the
no.
league, so now if they can focus, they could get. They're a decent chance to sneakily make the semis. And if you're in the semis,
Yeah, exactly.
have to win.
That's yeah.
So,
So once you're there at the semis for the Champions League, and you may as well just, you ride your luck and you take what you're gonna get.
and 15 points. They've got such a cushion. They've only got a game against AC. Like of their top four rivals, there's like only AC Milan and Inter to come ahead. Everybody else is like far below in the table. They should beat, because they've just shown that they're head and shoulders above everyone. They haven't quite won it yet, but yeah, I think deserved winners. Now, as we always do when we talk about Syria, we are going to Mo Watch.
Mo Watch.
So, Mourinho is going to consider legal action after getting red carded in a defeat to Cremonese, who had their first Syria win since 1986.
Oh dear.
So yeah, this is doing Jose things.
Yeah, definitely doing Jose things. Like just
Roma are on equal points to AC Milan at 4th place. They're just ahead on goal difference by 1 goal. They're a point behind Lazio, so they definitely want to finish above them as well. Fixtures coming up for them, and they're only 3 points behind Inter, so there's a good chance they can finish second. They're still in the Europa League. They've got Sociedad, who are not easy. Easy opponents for them, but they've got games coming up against teams like Sassuolo, Inter Milan, and AC. That's those like in May, so that's probably where the final 3 spots are going to be decided between these clubs.
Yeah.
In May, we'll probably see. Oh, they've also got a game against Lazio, so you know the Eternal City Derby
yes.
March 20th.
March 20th, that one, yeah.
So definitely much for Mo to do in that time. Also, like, even though this wasn't Mo related, Moise Kean came on for Juventus and got sent off after 40 seconds, which is the quickest send off for any player.
Crazy.
Yep. So mind you, recent form, Roma has beaten Juve 1-0, lost to Cremonese, as we said. Beaten Verona, beaten Salzburg in the Europa League, which is no mean feat. Drew with Lecce and beat Empoli. And they also lost to Cremonese in the Coppa Italia. Cremonese are second bottom, and they've only got 1 win this season, so Mo should not be happy about that.
He lost 2-1 to them both times.
Yep. I think Cremonese and Sampdoria are very likely to have already been relegated.
Yeah.
I feel a bit sad for Sampdoria back in I remember when they won in 1990 with Roberto Mancini.
Yeah.
And they wore those cool purple shirts. Really a neat little team. Now, moving on from Serie A, we go to La Liga, which is another league that's been getting interesting. So, the top of the table, we've just had El Clasico. Barcelona have a 9-point lead over Real Madrid, but Real Madrid looks like they're going to potentially win the Champions League again. So, Barcelona do Barcelona things. How many levers can they pull and still somehow manage to come out of it with the trophy?
Yeah, say Barcelona do Barcelona things. Like, it's just crazy sometimes.
Their upcoming fixtures are are reasonably straightforward. They're out of the Champions League. They're out of the Europa League. They're in the Copa del Rey against Real Madrid in the next leg. They've got another El Clasico at Camp Nou in March the 20th, an Athletic Club. So two tough games. If they can get through these fixtures with either draws or wins in these fixtures, I think that's it. Barcelona champions.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the contortions and levers pulling and everything, they will have managed to get all the way through.
They will, yeah. Is just Barcelona doing Barcelona things. Yeah. What's wrong with a few levers pulled here and there?
Yeah. And also, to be fair to Real Madrid, they're significantly better than everybody else in the league. They have a good 8-point lead over the cross-city rivals, Atletico, and 9-point lead over Real Sociedad, who are fourth.
Yeah.
This battle for third and fourth is interesting. We've got Atletico Madrid, Real Sociedad, Real Betis, and just a bit further out, Villarreal.
Yeah.
I never count Villarreal out. They're always capable of pulling in a last-minute upset. And I believe Villarreal are still in the Europa League. Could be wrong about that. Betis are still in the Europa League. One of these Spanish teams are a good shout for...
Villarreal are still in the Europa League. Oh, they're in the Conference League.
They're in the Conference League. Okay, cool. So they could still qualify for Europa.
Yeah, they're playing Anderlecht in the round of 16 over there.
Fair enough. They could definitely...
but they also have Real Betis coming up as well. I was just looking at their fixtures, so that's... speaking of the third, fourth race, that's a big one for Villarreal there.
Yeah. It looks like a very crowded fixture fourth place spot, because even Osasuna and Rayo Vallecano are not that far behind.
Probably a little far off at, like, what's that, 9 and 10 points out, but not so far it can't be overcome.
Yeah, I mean they've got a good 16 games left.
Good point, yeah.
There's a decent amount of room for teams to catch up, but yeah, Atletico, Real Sociedad. I mean, you always expect Atletico to get through because they have the quality. This is also Diego Simeone's last season at Atletico. He's moving on next season to a different. So after so Atletico will probably still somehow manage to finish top 4, but yeah, Real Sociedad or Betis. It'd be interesting to see one of those two teams make it back up to the Champions League. I don't think there's any Spanish clubs in the Champions League at the moment who are not in the running for the top 4. I think Atletico and Barcelona both are. But Atletico and Real Madrid are both in the top 4.
Yeah.
Can't remember who their fourth team was. But I think it was Sevilla, and they finished fourth in their thing, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sevilla's had a pretty
terrible season. They look like they might get relegated.
They are right on the edge of the relegation battle here.
What a rotten season their fans are having. Their great rivals and the second city derby are Real Betis. Look like they might qualify for the Champions League and definitely qualifying for Europe. And they're fighting hard. Elche probably relegated. They're not even on 20 points at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's looking pretty unlikely for Elche.
But it's pretty competitive for the other sports. Valencia, Almeria, Sevilla, Getafe. Cadiz are not out by any stretch of the imagination. Valladolid.
Espanyol.
So those...
Even Celta Vigo is not... That's only 3 points off the relegation, right? So...
Yeah, Celta Vigo, they're not... Girona, I think, on 30 points can breathe a bit easier, especially after 24 4 more wins in the season, and they're probably safe.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't say that because the bottom club is so far below everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
You could get a table that's a bit lopsided.
Yeah, let's say Girona's on 30 points and Almeria currently in the 18th spot on 25, so it's only 5 points there. I mean, we've said a lot of club names between those two, but
yeah,
this Girona is in 11th compared to 18th, but yeah, it's only 5 points, which doesn't take a lot to drop down through. So
yeah, I mean, by that logic, looking at the numbers, even Mallorca is only 3 points, and Athletic Club Bilbao is only 8 points from the relegation.
exactly.
So a bunch of things. There's a lot of season left to go. I think Barcelona definitely pole position and favorites to win. Real Madrid favorites to second. But everything else is up for grabs in Syria. It's all to play for.
Exactly.
Now we're going to go to the actual most exciting league this season. For once, and who could see this coming, but the Bundesliga is up and open for business. Way after 23 games, we have Bayern Munich. Remember, Bundesliga only has 18 teams, so they only play 36 games.
36 games, yes.
So 36 or 34? Yeah, 34 games.
Oh. Yeah, 35 maybe even. 34.
Yeah, 34. Because, 17 times 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So 34, so there's 11 games to play. 11 games to play. On the top of the table, ahead on ridiculous goal difference, is Bayern Munich at 49 points.
Yeah.
Borussia Dortmund on 49 points as well, but with still a good goal difference. By far the second best in goal difference in the league. And then we have FC Union Berlin at 44 points. And we have RB Leipzig at 42 points and SC Freiburg at 42 points. Any of these these are all teams that could potentially win the league.
Yes.
Bayern Munich just lost the derby to Borussia Dortmund recently. They are still in the Champions League, obviously. Borussia Dortmund have to play Chelsea, and Bayern Munich playing
hopefully
PSG.
Dortmund aren't in the Champions League after tomorrow, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, if they aren't anymore, then they have another derby against Bayern Munich on April the 2nd.
All right.
There is a Bavarian derby against Augsburg. As their next Bundesliga game, and of course they play Leverkusen, who just to always beat Bayern Munich. They play Freiburg at the Pokal, and then they play Freiburg in the Bundesliga, followed by Hoffenheim. So they have a bunch of fixtures coming up. Even in May, they've got Leipzig to play. They've got Werder Bremen and Schalke, my beloved Schalke 04. So they are, they've got a tough run of fixtures coming up. Looking at Borussia Dortmund's fixtures, they have obviously got Chelsea tomorrow. They play Schalke, the Rhineland derby. They play FC Cologne, another Rhineland derby, and then they play Bayern Munich, and then they play Leipzig, and then they play FC Union. So this is Borussia Dortmund's make it or break it time. If they can get wins in these fixtures, they're basically favorites to win the league. Especially if they lose to Chelsea, and get through on and have to rely on winning the Bundesliga. is it better to front load your tough fixtures or have them later on? Because I think having them front loaded, they get the points earlier. They can, and like realistically, the tough fixtures kind of end after April the 23rd. After that, it's a bit more manageable for them.
Yeah.
And they'll have
I would.
Frankfurt. Frankfurt on April the 23rd is the last,
Yeah.
European team.
I guess it comes down to front loading means that if you do mess up, there's a chance that the opposition will mess up in the quote unquote EDC games. So as long as you take the points from there, then maybe you can capitalize there. So you sort of get a second chance. It's a long shot, but it's a second chance. So yeah, I think Dortmund's front loading possibly is the better way around of it.
Yeah. Then Union are still in the Europa League. They've got Eintracht Frankfurt and both Bundesliga and Pokal to play, not too far away. And then they've got a game against BVB, and pretty much everybody else is outside the top 4, so they're not a bad shot.
No, that's not too bad. They got Freiburg.
Yeah, they've got Freiburg to play in May.
Yeah.
But by then, they could be pushing on for a championship. So you never know. This would be the first East European team to win the Bundesliga.
Ooh.
They were to go ahead and win.
Yeah.
And they do it before RB Leipzig, which would make everybody happy. The other one. So, obviously Hertha Berlin, while they're in Berlin, they were in the West German League.
Yeah.
Before, because they played in West Berlin. But yeah, FC Union were in East Berlin. It's like a very interesting history back the days of the Cold War. The FC Union fans were also fans of Hertha, and Hertha fans were FC Union fans, but now they're like very big rivals. This is like the capital city derby for Germany.
Yeah.
Very closely becoming one of the most contested rivalries in German football.
Right, yeah.
But they're, like I said, even in the top 4, if we count Eintracht Frankfurt as still being with a good shout of getting a top 4 position.
Yeah, which
pretty competitive. But look at that relegation table.
I know. I was waiting for you to get there. Like that's how close can you get?
I mean, Schalke again potentially be relegated, but we'll just come back up from 2 Bundesliga, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That there's Hoffenheim potentially, Stuttgart, Hertha Berlin, even Augsburg and Köln are not out of the woods. I think Werder Bremen, Borussia Mönchengladbach will are probably can breathe a bit easier.
Yeah. Even Köln and Augsburg are probably okay as long as they don't drop some too many games. I mean, that is 8 points, which is almost enough. Like that's a few games to drop before you start being dragged back down. But yeah, I wouldn't be feeling too easy about it. But same time, like you don't need to look over your shoulder.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Schalke fan, so I'm gonna hope they don't get relegated. But there's some big names here.
Yeah.
Like, they'll even Bochum, who are bottom of the league, have been sometimes a quite established club in the Bundesliga, and then now they've become a bit more of a yo-yo club. Schalke are a bit more of a yo-yo club, and they're one of the most storied clubs in German football.
Yeah.
Stuttgart, same thing. So this is German football. Like that's why it's interesting. Like, other than Bayern Munich, everything that comes up must come down. And like the thing is, Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund have like number 1 and 2 in terms of like money and resources, and everybody else is like competing like every season. Like it's super open. And I wonder about that. Like because we talk about the top six in English football. Like, yeah, sure, the top six sort of changes order, but they're the same teams. But you get teams come in and out of the top six in German football way more often. Even if,
Yeah.
English football, you get different champions. But realistically, it's a team that wins now after Manchester City are having an off year.
Yeah.
So, okay, before we talk a bit more about Manchester City and their issues, who's going to win the Bundesliga? Who do you like?
I have to stick with Bayern, I think. Or Dortmund.
You're gonna stick with Bayern.
Bayern's just got the pedigree for it, right? They've done this before. They've been there. Like it feels really hard to write off Bayern on any of this. I know the others too as well. Yeah, no.
They've won the Champions League.
Yeah. But this is the Bundesliga, and it just feels hard not to say Bayern when they're in the mixture.
12 in a row for Bayern. Surely the train must stop at some point.
It does have to stop at some point, and this season possibly is. I mean, there's a Dortmund-Bayern matchup to come, right? So that's the one there.
And they don't have Lewandowski to bail them out.
Do you make a good point on that? You do make a good point there.
And Borussia Dortmund still have Jude Bellingham.
Actually, no, you make good points. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll go to Dortmund.
Because looking at Dortmund, Julian Brandt and Giovanni Reina and Yusufa Makoko are the leading goal scorers. And yeah, it's interesting that they've got a decent team with like good players all around.
Yeah.
The side of the ball. You're right. Probably it will be Bayern Munich. Yeah. I just feel like that's, some things are like, death and taxes in Bayern Munich winning Bundesliga. It's just going to happen.
Especially with that goal difference, like that's a crazy goal difference. Like that's just ridiculous.
So, but that being said, I'm gonna go for Borussia Dortmund. Sebastian Haller has come back, recovered from cancer, and leading the team to goals and leading them to victory.
Yeah,
like that's the story we want to tell, right?
Yeah. No, that is the better story.
Now, do we have time to talk about Manchester City? Or should we save that for the next podcast?
No, let's talk about them. We need to talk about them because
So Manchester City, 115 counts of broken rules. All right. What do you think? Assuming allegedly, these are all alleged.
It's all allegedly, yes.
All alleged.
Still being sorted out. Yeah.
Assuming they're found guilty and properly guilty, like they're found of guilty of things more than just delay. Like if 115 guilty and there's like 111 of them are them just delaying tactics, that's not such a big deal, right? That's not going to get them relegated. That's going to get them maybe a points thing, maybe a transfer ban, that sort of thing. Like even I would go like that's a bit much. But if something like there's more than 25 counts of because it's 10 years, right? So if there's more than like 25 to 50 like violations of FFP regulations, that's a big deal. Like that's a lot. Right? Because a bunch of these violations will be them delaying, right? Like we know, and it's things like this.
Yeah.
Or representing the books technically right, but not like proper, like not in the right order or not in the right format. Like because they're gonna got them for everything, right? Like they're not gonna. There's gonna be some real technical ones in there. So I'm just assuming, but the real big ones, if there's more than 20, I think that's a big deal. Like, I think that requires real punishment. So, if it happens, I feel like if there is an independent regulator and they're gonna look at this very carefully, this panel, like they're already arguing about who gets to be on the panel, so that's already putting them in a bad light. If the panel finds them largely guilty, I know even if the panel don't give them the titles back, Liverpool and Manchester United are going to take them to court to get those titles back.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
And and the courts have because we already have case law that supports this, because Sheffield United took West Ham to court over the Carlos Tevez thing, and they got the court found them guilty and fined them 50 million. They said they don't have the right to take away, take them back into the league, but they said if this was they did mention that if it was something like deciding a competition, they would have handed,
Right, yeah.
they would have changed the
outcome.
Because it was 2 years after, because that's how long a court case took.
Yeah.
But now this would be like reinstating trophies. You can just change record books, right? They're not asking City to be relegated, and you can't, too much time hasn't passed in the league. Like, you couldn't put Sheffield United back in the league.
No.
So case law would probably support them. Sure, City have unlimited money to throw lawyers at the problem. But the Premier League is already going to be like, we know this is going to go to court, and I feel like they're going to... Look, let me be very, very honest. Forget the trophy side of things. I feel like that should happen because at the end of the day, that's restorative justice. Liverpool deserved to win 3 extra trophies. They were the best team in the country. If City have indeed cheated to get good play, to beat them squad level. The only reason Liverpool didn't beat City was squad depth.
Yes,
I think
100%, yeah.
And Manchester United's probably in a similar position. Jose, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, deserves to have 2 Premier League medals.
Give him his medals, man. Give him his medals.
And Jose Mourinho gets another one with the Reds.
Yeah. The only thing is that means Gerrard didn't slip up, and that saddens me because it still
even means Aguero.
No, it's not a thing anymore.
Even I think that's one of the most electrifying moments of English football history.
It really is, yeah.
So, but it's such a thing. Like, look how unfair it is. Like, Pep Guardiola has effectively wasted his career.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If City don't lose, but like, this is the thing. Like, I'm not saying they should go into these people's houses and take their trophies away. Obviously, take it away from the club.
Yeah.
Take their medals away or anything, and change the history books. And I think that's going to have to happen regardless if the verdict goes against City. But realistically, what is a thing punishment? Because even if you... Look, relegating the Championship does nothing. They will just come straight back up.
No, relegation means nothing.
Newcastle got relegated 3 times and came straight back up. And Newcastle, under their previous ownership, was less well-resourced and probably run less competently than Manchester City are now.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not unfair. Like, the previous ownership are hated by Newcastle fans.
Yeah.
But we got them straight back up, like
exactly.
Newcastle was incompetently run enough that they got relegated. That's how,
exactly.
Straight back up. City will easily come straight back up. There's also the thing is that even if the Premier League only has the right to expel them from the Premier League, the EFL does not have to accept them. They can be relegated to the National League if the EFL goes no. Because you've broken our rules too.
Alright, yeah. That would be funny, but
the thing is, that's not also a punishment because they will come straight back up. And you know what? They will make a Return to Wrexham-style documentary about Manchester City coming back up through the leagues.
Yes.
And everybody will watch it. And the thing is, the reason why that's not a punishment is because the owners of Manchester City aren't trying to make money. They have more money than, like, people have ever had, arguably, in human history. They want vibes. Like, that's what sports washing is. They want to create good vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, a documentary about their club that goes all the way up from the National League to the Premier League again after getting punished and redeeming themselves, doing it properly this time without cheating.
Yeah,
that's gonna be good vibes. That's the reward.
That is a reward. That gives them everything they want. They get the Netflix specials for years. For years. So yeah.
That's a reward. for like them. Like that's ultimately even more effective sports washing than arguably winning lots of stuff.
Oh dear.
Like, so the only punishment, and I feel like the government has already set the precedent. They have to force the owners to sell,
Yeah.
ban them from English football.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Like, if they are found guilty, I'm saying they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to give them, like, and if that happens, I don't mind so much about trophies. I don't mind whether they get relegated, because then you don't have to punish the fans. Like, if you're getting rid of the people who own the club,
Exactly.
they don't have to be relegated out of the league. They don't even necessarily have to be relegated into the championship. Like, I can swallow that. Okay, while you're not, while like Liverpool, Manchester United are robbed of trophies they should have,
Yeah.
the people who are actually at fault are punished.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the important thing here. It's like, as you say, people running the club are the ones that have done wrong here. Don't punish the fans. They didn't do anything wrong. Don't take
Like,
away their moments. Like, let's actually target the punishment at the people who have made this problem.
Like, if you took the trophies away and you have forced them to sell the club, then I would be okay with them not even getting relegated. Like, maybe transfer ban next season, that's it.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't see how, as you said, how relegation is punishment. Like, there's no real point relegating them. So if you relegate them down one level, they're back up next year. Yeah.
Like, if you're not forcing the owners to sell, no amount of relegation is actual punishment.
No.
Manchester City, because it's technically a reward, because they get better types of sports washing out of it.
Yeah, and if you do force the owner to sell, then the relegation has no more meaning anyway, so why bother? Just keep it as, they can stay there. Say, you might slap a transfer ban on them for a while, maybe dock some points, I don't know, dock points so they drop down to mid-table and can't be Europe next year, whatever, but yeah.
Maybe ban them from the FA Cup next season, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Like, or ban them from Champions League. There are lesser punishments you can give them, like, without punishing the fans.
Yeah, exactly.
If you punish the actual people who deserve to be punished.
Yes.
Like, you can even do something like a special case of, like, sure, these trophies have an asterisk and, like, it's considered a shared trophy with Manchester City and, like, the other clubs, because the players did win still, but the other clubs get to add an additional championship to their thing because it's considered a retroactive shared trophy or something. So that way both those clubs are not, they're not forced to, like, accept something getting taken away from them.
Yeah. There's that as well. That might work. Though, I'm actually fine with them having their trophies taken off them. Be like, nope, that was the reason why you won those trophies because the players you had, and those players were unfairly acquired. So therefore, we'll just take those trophies off, give them to the others.
Watford should have an FA Cup trophy in their table. Stoke should have an FA Cup trophy in their in their trophy cabinet. All these teams definitely deserve to have their trophies given back to them.
Yeah, give them all their trophies. Take them off City, give them their trophies, give them a fine, get rid of the owners, force to sell.
The most unfairly affected by this, if it does turn out to be all true, is the club on the other side of that Aguero moment. It's QPR, because QPR got pinged when they got relegated for breaking FFP, but they had planned to not be relegated, and they would have had that money in the Premier League, and they slowly paid that off to stay in the Championship, and they couldn't spend, and they've been stuck in the Championship because of how they managed to come to that agreement and decide to balance their books and all that. QPR got absolutely royally screwed by Manchester United cheating. Sorry, Manchester City cheating.
Manchester City cheating. Okay, new plan. Manchester City do get relegated, special relegation, and QPR can come back up. I mean, it's only going to be for a season, right? But still, like, you get your season up.
You get back into the Premier League this season, and Manchester City go to the Championship.
Yeah.
But they're not owned by Sheikh Mansour anymore, so
exactly.
I mean, they'll probably still come straight back up.
Oh, they'll still come back straight back up. Like they're not. That's I mean, relegation is pointless. Even if you force the owners to sell because City come back up anyway. So it's like it's a season. Their fans have to wait a season. Like we're down in the championship. Yeah, we were targeted and it's all horrible and the Premier League hate us and all the rest. They're not staying down there. They're coming back up. They win all their games down there. They get promoted back up after scoring like 1 billion goals and 1 billion points or whatever they get to, and back up they come.
Yeah, but they'll probably come back into the Premier League as probably still another top 6 club, even without super rich owners. Even if they sold it to fans and made it into a fan-owned club.
The thing that could hurt them there would be transfer bans. Like if you gave them a long enough transfer ban, things could get a bit more.
I don't think you can give them a transfer ban of more than 2 windows. I don't think that's very fair.
No, exactly. So the only way to actually, if you were like not wanting them to just bounce straight back up and be a top club again, is you'd have to have a transfer ban of like years, and that's just not going to happen. So.
Yeah, so like 2 windows is I think that's not fair. I'm not exactly a City.
No. I think it's just a fine, take the trophies, force the owner to sell, and maybe this coming, one window of transfer ban just to be like, it was because of your transfers the problem, so you can't do that. Naughty.
I think, like I said, like, if you think about it, like, if they did get relegated to the National League, what would happen? Sheikh Mansour would make the tear-felt apology in front of cameras, and they'd promise not to break the rules, and they'd do it right this time properly, and they'd start filming it, and that would be the vibe, and they'd be like, look, we were bad before, but we're not bad anymore. We're, like, good guys now. Like, we're trying to turn a new leaf.
Exactly. You get behind-the-scenes footage on your Netflix
or even
special.
Like, we're bad boys, we did nothing wrong, they have an agenda against us, we're persecuted. Like, Manchester City fans will still support Manchester City, regardless of what happens, right?
100%. And either way, that Netflix special is just, like...
Oh, we're all watching it, like,
100%.
It'll be
everybody's watching it. Exactly. No matter which angle they take.
It'll be on Disney Plus, it'll be the most popular TV show on the planet.
Yeah, it would be, amazingly. If that did happen, who I'd feel the most sorry for? Glasgow Rangers. Because, they were forced to go all the way down the bottom, come back up, before there was these whole things around Netflix specials and the rest, so they didn't get to film their redemption arc. So,
Yep.
And then City had it happen to them, and they'd make billions out of it just from the TV revenues. And then Rangers would be like, "But we did it first. We did it first."
See, QPR can start a new special because they'd be like, "We got the lottery win. We got given a $56 million settlement for this thing that happened, and maybe they'll be given like, oh, City have to pay you $200 million, and you get into the Premiership, and it's like, oh, we have like sort of won the lottery, and like we're in the Premier League. What?
Okay. Hey,
like poor guy gets an inherit. Like they'll be the Mr. Deeds of football.
Exactly. Oh dear. Yeah. That has to happen, I think. Swap their places somehow.
Swap QPR and Manchester City. Give Stoke their FA Cup back. Give Watford their FA Cup back. Bunch of, let's look at Manchester City's. Like, just to finish off, what is Manchester City's honor board? So obviously all the league titles go. The 2018 FA Cup with Watford, 2010-2011 FA Cup against Stoke, because it started since 2009. They have to give up their Community Shield, obviously, and they have won the League Cup a bunch of times. I have to see against them. I believe they might even be the most. They might have won it the most times. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay, so Tottenham Hotspur get a League Cup, Aston Villa get a League Cup, Chelsea get a League Cup,
oh, yeah,
Arsenal get a League Cup, Liverpool get a League Cup.
Look under your chair. Everyone gets a League Cup.
Sunderland get a League Cup. Oh, you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Yeah. Yeah, 6 League Cups to be given out.
Bunch of prize money plus interest to be given to those clubs as well.
Yeah. Surely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our thoughts. I'm sure lots of people agree with us.
There might be a few people that don't as well.
Maybe. But well, let's give us your thoughts. What do you think should be the punishment for Manchester City should they be found guilty of serious charges? Like by serious, I mean a significant amount of these 100 alleged charges being like actual FFP breaches and like illegally paying players, these sort of things, like potentially fraud things with transfers. I don't mean just them delaying stuff. To be fair, I don't think a bunch of it will be, because UEFA had a very, very strong case, because City kept delaying stuff until they couldn't, the statute of limitation had run out. And basically the CAS said, yeah, that's the only reason you're getting away with this. It's not because you committed the crime.
Yeah. Still committed the crime. We just you made us take too long, so you get away with it, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll see how it all plays out in the end, but we're unlikely to see it happen this season. This court case is probably not even going to be resolved by beginning of next season.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
There'll be a shadow over it. So the way I see it, Arsenal have won the league because at the end of the day, if City win this league, Arsenal are going to be second, right? We're going to hand it to Arsenal.
Yeah, no, that's
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't see United catching up to Arsenal, so there you go. Congratulations, Gunners. You're probably in the league.
Probably. Well, I mean, to be fair, that's what the Arsenal fans at work were. Well, that's what he was saying. As soon as the news broke, he's like, yeah, we've won the league.
Yep. Completely fair. But I think that's all we have time for today. Thanks very much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. Find 642 Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.